The roar filled St James Park long before the ball rolled, and at first it felt like a typical European night, a hostile crowd, a relentless home side, and the belief that tempo and passion could unsettle any visiting team. But Barcelona arrived with a different confidence, not loud or brash, but patient and precise, a kind of quiet cruelty. From the opening exchanges, they refused to be rushed. The ball moved across lines with a calm that grew teeth as minutes passed. Every pass was both an invitation and a trap, coaxing Newcastle forward until gaps appeared and energy bled away. Marcus Rashford, often cast as a finisher on the break, found himself the endpoint of that circulation. Two clinical moments that split the game open. The first came from a patient build that lured defenders into narrow corridors. Rashford arrived in the space between the lines and finished with the calm of a striker who knows his time. The second was the product of the same formula. Possession that punished impatience, movement that punished overcommitment, and a finish that felt inevitable once the pattern had been set. Newcastle pushed, they roared, they hurled numbers forward, but each time they did, they fed Barcelona's rhythm and let the Catalans tighten the vase. Anthony Gordon's late strike served as a reminder of Newcastle's spirit, a fierce, defiant moment that nearly rewrote the narrative, but it also exposed the cost. The last 10 minutes looked like the residue of a longer fight, tired legs, laboured passes, and the sense that a more patient opponent had simply taken the energy out of. Speaking after the game, the words that mattered weren't clever analysis, but plain admission. Newcastle had never faced possession that felt so purposeful, so draining. That single comment cuts to the heart of what happened. This Barca did not simply keep the ball for vanity. They kept it to extract value, to break opponents' structure by turning the clock and stretching stamina. For Hansi Flick, this result is more than 3 points. It's evidence that his team can marry control with ruthlessness, that a side can be aesthetically pleasing and ruthlessly effective at the same time. That duality is dangerous in knockout football. A team that can suffocate opponents in the group stage will be terrifying in the latter rounds when margins shrink and the ability to control tempo becomes decisive. The tactical lessons are stark. Opponents will need to decide whether to try to disrupt Barcelona's rhythm through early aggression, risking exposure to Rashford's incisiveness, or to match possession with greater midfield control, which requires different personnel and a different temperament. For Newcastle, the report card is immediate. They showed heart, forward thrust, and the capacity to punish sack moments, but they also revealed vulnerabilities against teams that refused to rush. Their supporters saw a valiant challenge undone not by a fluke, but by a methodical strategy that sapped strength and seized opportunities when they appeared. Across Europe, headlines will carry two messages: admiration for Barca's beauty and alarm at its effectiveness. This result will force rival managers to adjust planning and scouting. Analysts will replay the passes not simply to marvel at technique, but to find counters, pressing triggers, rotation patterns, or personnel changes able to interrupt the steady metronome Barca established. But beyond tactics, there is an emotional shift. Teams and fans will look at Barcelona differently after tonight, not just as a team with heritage and flair, but as a clear contender who can impose a game plan and close matches out under pressure. That reputation changes how opponents prepare, how referees see the flow, and how pundits set the narrative for the season. As for the Champions League, performances like this rearrange expectations. A team that can calmly disassemble a passionate Premier League side on a hostile night has a kind of psychological edge in continental competition. The question now is simple and brutal. Who has an answer? If rivals fail to find one, Barcelona's path will be less about luck and more about inevitability, a campaign defined by control, stamina, and the clinical instincts of players ready to finish when the opening appears. Tonight was more than a result. It was a statement, and Europe has heard it loud and clear.